Thieves. What would I do if I was Thieves? First, we look at paper. What we're working with. We've got Ghosty, Nasty, Kremp, and Joe. So when I'm looking at a roster, right? I'm looking at this year and I'm thinking, who are the players that we can't really replace and we want to keep on the team? And straight away, Ghosty is, for me, the player you have on top of that. You build around Ghosty. It's as simple as that. The guy was unbelievable. And then we look at some other players and we're like, do we really need to make an upgrade in this team? Now, I think the answer is yes, if there's a few options available. But when we're looking at that team, I personally think that Joe Deceives is very, very talented. And I throw the word talent around loosely because I know everyone's talented in the league, but I think he's shown glimpses of something really special, of like really, really becoming a good player, man. I've just seen really good stuff from Joe. Even listening to people like Abeezy, being friends with him. I remember someone, I think Parasite, mentioned how like Abeezy mentioned about Joe's 1v1 skills, they're friends and stuff like that, man. So I just think that Joe and Ghosty are the people we build around. Now, Kremp is very interesting for me because Kremp brings something outside of in-game ability. And when I watch Thieves, when I watch 100 Thieves, we're going to wait a second because the player we played with went 0-10, so we don't want to get in that same lobby. We'll wait for a second. Yeah, when you look at Thieves, right, when you look at Kremp, something really interesting about Kremp, what I realized, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but he brings a lot of energy, okay? And energy for me is very, very important, chat. We're looking at a roster. We're not looking at in-game who gets the most kills. We're looking at roster. We're looking at energy. Why? Because it makes a difference. It makes a team play better. If you guys have ever played rank play or anything competitive, you'll realize that the morale and the energy around you is a massive factor. If someone's bringing that hype and bringing that energy, it's very, very contagious. Someone like Pred. Pred is a perfect example. When you watch Pred in the process and you watch him in just the CDL and generally, his hype, the things he brings, as well as his gun skill, are very, very important. The intangibles to a teammate. And I do think Kremp brings a lot of that. Someone like Joe, I don't see him getting like really, really loud and crazy. He does sometimes, obviously, like a little bit, but nothing like crazy. But Kremp brings that energy. So it really depends on the team, how well they're vibing outside the game and stuff like that. Because when I look at the team, right, I think they played really good at EWC. Nasty's a weird one for me. He's a wild card because he's played good. I think he has played good. So for me personally, I thought if you're going to pack punch this team, if you're going to upgrade it, you either have to go with a replacement for Nasty, Kremp, or both. So for me, again, it comes down to options, okay? The only options I would really consider bringing in right now, there's a few players that come to mind and then we can kind of address that. Let's talk about a few players that come to mind. The top four, I think, is locked off right now, so we don't mention them. So let's talk about players outside of the top four that's potentially could improve this team, okay? First things first, Insight, because he just got dropped. I think it's a very, very important player to discuss. I'm not going to talk about Ghosty leaving for this conversation. I'm going to leave Ghosty in the squad, building around him. If he was to leave, obviously we go for a different route. But for now, I'm talking about from Thieves' perspective. They want to keep Ghosty. They want to keep Joe. Let's talk about some options. If you're bringing Insight into the team, then you have to bring someone that complements him. Is Insight for Nasty a straight switch? I don't know. I think you got to maybe change Kremp then as well. I think it might have to be a two-person change. Someone that I think could be a straight switch is Illy. I think Illy for Nasty could be a straight switch, to be honest with you. I think something about Thieves is like, they are the youngest team in the CDL. Someone like Illy, I do think can just bring a little bit of leadership. He can bring a bit of that experience in. The guy's won champs. He's quite relatively young himself, but he carries himself in a mature way. He's got that leadership role. Every team he's been a part of, he's been, very, very vocal. And I think vocal in this team will be very important. So for me personally, someone like Illy could fit in like a glove. I think Illy coming in for Nasty would be an amazing pickup. In terms of other options, I feel like Gwyn is a clear player to look at. If you do want to replace Kremp, then I think you got to bring someone like Gwyn in. I think Gwyn's a shout. One thing that interesting change as well, I don't know if I would go for it, but do you get rid of Nasty and go with like a veteran AR, like a Clay or a Slasher or someone like that, or like a Beans, like a more of a Slayer? I think there's a few options, man. And there really is a few options you can kind of go for. It just depends what nature and generally Thieves are looking for. So what do you guys think? What's your guys' thoughts on that? But if I'm Nate, if I'm the managing team at Thieves and I've got not necessarily an open checkbook, but I've got a realistic budget and I've got, I'm a bit open. They're like, look, you can kind of do what you want. Who do we go for? See, that's what I mean, bro. Could they get Sib? Like, nah, bro. That's what I mean. Like, that's not a realistic one. Like, Sib is on a top 4 roster. There's no way he downgrades. You know what I mean? So Sib's just not realistic for me, bro. I think realistically, like, they have to go with someone not on the top 3, not on the top 4, because they're not going to come down to Thieves. Their team's already better than Thieves. There's no way, like, Sib is not going to leave Hydra to play with that team. You see where I'm coming from? Hydra's like an absolute superstar. You just don't leave Hydra. You just don't. You literally just don't leave Hydra's team, sorry. So for me, I think the real option is Illy, man. If you can get Illy there, then you replace Nasty. Otherwise, Insight's an interesting one. I think Insight could potentially work. Very interesting one to see how that one would play out. Other than that, Abuza's a good one as well, but his contract seemed to be a myth. His whole 1-year renewal thing seemed to be a myth. I don't know how that one came out, but it seems like he might be staying at Vancouver. So again, man, it just depends. Who are you really looking at? For me, I'm okay with keeping the team. I'm okay with keeping the team as it is. I do think that they played very, very well at the end of the year. They started to show some glimpses. It could be a long-term project. Maybe you give it another year. But if the opportunity is there, these are the players I'm looking out for. Gwyn is up my list. Absolutely. Gwyn for Kremp is definitely up there. If you can get that upgrade, why not go for it? Abuza, like I mentioned, I don't think is available. If you can, though, you bring him in. Absolutely. And Illy. I think those are the 3 key players. I guess Insight as well, to be fair. Insight as well. That guy is just got dropped, and I think he's gonna come with a vengeance. So those are my 4 players. For the ARs, you have Illy or Insight. For the SMGs, you got Gwyn. Did I see anyone else? I think that's it. I think for Kremp, only Gwyn I would really replace him with. It's weird as well, because I think Geo could replace Nasty, to be fair. I forgot about Geo. There's a lot of different pieces. Maybe Nero as well instead of Kremp, if that's what you want. I do like Nero. But again, if your team gets along, I don't know if you have to change the dynamic, to be honest with you. It really depends on Thieves and what they're kind of thinking. But yeah, that's going to be it for that one. I think just my overall thoughts. If I'm Thieves, I think I'm sticking with the roster, man. It's a weird one. Unless I can get one of those players, I think I'm sticking with the roster. I think they showed some promises. They really did show some glimpses across the year. And I just feel like if they can continue improving at the pace they did, there's no reason why they can't, you know, get a few upsets in the year, because they were able to beat Thieves. They got to a point at, I think, Major 2 or 3, where they basically were in a position to beat FaZe, like literally fry them, and I believe they got reverse swept, if I'm correct. And they also did the same thing at Optic. At Champs, they got Optic 2-0 up, and then they got reverse swept. So not many teams can consistently play well against the top dogs. And I think that's something to say, man. The team looks like they're a very young team. And I think it's a good team. I do like the Thieves roster. I do like the Thieves roster. Again, if you pack a punch, not a bad thing either. But yeah, that's going to be it, man. I'm going to say for Thieves, that's what I would do. That's the route I would take. Sticking with the roster unless you can get one of Abuza, Illy, Insight, Gwyn. And I think that's it, man. Obviously, there's other names like Beans and stuff like that, but I think those are the main people I would look for. YouTube, if you guys enjoyed the video, let me know. If you guys have any more CDL videos or opinions you guys want to share, let me know down in the comments, man. Catch you guys for another one tomorrow. Peace.